Governor Strickland sent you a note, I guess, today, once more appealing for you to reconsider or re-examine the train. Is there anything at all that he could write or that advocates could say that would get you to look at it in a new way?
Look, is there anything? I suppose anybody could say anything that would go, holy cow. But I've not seen the letter. It was just, I just saw it here a second ago, but my staff has reviewed it. There's nothing new in it. Look, we just don't see eye to eye on this project. Now, last week in Washington, I didn't tell anybody this, but I appealed to the Secretary to let us have this money for freight rail, you know. I told him, I mean, if you like trains, I had a train underneath my Christmas tree. There were passenger cars and coal cars. I happen to favor the coal cars. So, look, we can't be creating a system that just starts off being, we don't know who's going to ride it. We don't know how fast it's going to go. We think it goes very slow, and there's going to be a subsidy, and we don't know what it's going to cost. So, you know, I cannot let my economic programs be derailed by more train. We have to balance the budget and cut taxes. We are not going to solve the economic problems of job loss in Ohio with just public projects. We have to create an environment in the state where companies want to stay and companies want to come. I'm here at Ohio State today talking to the agriculture people about how we can use these assets to drive commercialization, job creation, revenue, and wealth. I appreciate the fact that the governor is passionate about this, but during the campaign, we talked about this. There was total clarity. I wasn't for it. He was. We had an election. The results stand. So obviously I'll take a look at the letter, and I appreciate him writing to me. You know, that's fine. But nothing that I have been told changes my mind on this.
Did the Transportation Secretary respond? Mr. LaHood respond in any way?
I'm not optimistic that anything will change. But you have to ask once in a while. Hope always springs eternal, but I'm not optimistic we'll get that money. I just hope it goes to pay down the deficit. We have just had a 2-week, we've had Washington almost in apoplexy about the deficit. So they could make a good faith effort here to say, okay, if they don't want the money that was dedicated to Ohio, put it back in the Treasury and reduce the deficit. Don't give it to somebody else. Because, you know, in Washington, sometimes, more times than not, it comes out of both sides of their mouth. We want to reduce the deficit, but if Kasich doesn't want the money, we'll just give it to somebody else. That's ridiculous. So, nothing's changed.
Governor Strickland's argument seems to be that this will create jobs in the short term and the long term. He threw out a number of like 16,000. And the argument seems to be, if you really care about jobs in Ohio, you take a second look at this. I mean, are you concerned you're leaving good job opportunities on the rails?
We've spent a lot of time looking at this. Yes.
Back to the reason you're here today. You touched on it briefly there. What did you see today? Did you see anything today? Or from
well, look, I think everybody is interested in trying to do more commercialization. There are some good stories here, and some that we don't really know how they're all going to turn out. The most important thing we can do is begin to design metrics for measuring what results we're really getting. So I like to know how many companies were created, how much revenue, how many employees, how's it all turned out. I also think it's really important on Third Frontier money, that is a really important critical item for the state, that we get a little near-term horizon. You can have 7 to 10 years, but life changes in a week around here anymore, in case we haven't checked. So there should be some 7 to 10, I presume, but I'd like to see more closer 3 to 5 and more near-term results and near-term commercialization. Look, Ohio is in deep trouble economically. We don't have 7 to 10 years to wait. We've got to get things moving quickly. So I enjoyed my visit here. There were a number of companies in here that that talked about the benefits they receive. Bobby Mosier's an outstanding leader. But we have to work harder. We have to push harder. I want their ideas. I want to talk more about how we actually bring entrepreneurship to the university. Yeah, I really do believe that giving professors a real economic stake in commercial success is important. It's one of the things we're going to look at in Jobs Ohio. It's one of the things that our universities have to think about. I talked to Gordon Gee before I went into the meeting. Gordon says, you know, I'm really committed to this. I completely believe him, but we're going to have the metrics. So when we walked down the atrium stairs, one of the people that was with us said, you know, you can see the scoreboard from here. Okay, well, when you can see a scoreboard, you know exactly how you're doing. I just want more scoreboards on all the activities that are going on in the state to make sure that we're really focused and that we're getting great results. But this is it's Ohio State University, the Agriculture Department. These are fantastic things for Ohio. Do I think we've used them effectively enough? No, I don't. You know, we have a process here whereby we can look at food development connected to health research. I don't think most people probably know about this. So what can we do to fly the flag of Ohio State and begin to recruit companies on the basis of the unique things that we can do here? So I've asked Bobby Mosier, for the head of the Department of Agriculture, for 2 or 3 ideas. I've asked the people that sat in the meeting that they can tell me anonymously things that they think we can do better. But it is really, really important that we can demonstrate that when companies come here, we can help them with their short-term problems and we can help them think longer term and give them success.
Governor Kasich, have you kind of explained the process of going through the stack of executive orders? In particular, the Prescription Drug Task Force comes to mind. Are you individually going through those? Have you,
me? No, no, I'm not. I'm not a micromanager, so I have my team, a couple lawyers, I don't even know how many of them, are going and looking at these executive orders. The idea that we would have, had an executive order to force a department to share a list with a labor union, who could then go out and run a campaign, and then also to permit independent contractors to negotiate under collective bargaining laws when they're not even state employees, is something that is, to me, is just wrong. Okay, so that one popped up because one of the troublemakers in the press corps raised this issue with me. All right, but we'll go through all the executive orders and figure out which ones we like and which ones we don't. They'll come to me with a recommendation. Jim, the people that I have around me, up to this point, they understand my philosophy, and they're frankly part of this team. So it isn't very confusing to figure out which things we like or which things we don't like. And there'll be some where they'll say, well, I have a question. But right now, the executive order question is just something being dealt with by a team, and at some point they'll come to me.
What do you have in mind for executive orders you're going to sign soon as you get into office?
Nothing today.
Nothing today.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
My job right now, I have 3 things that I spend my time thinking about. 1, picking my team. I was really excited today to announce Tom Moe. I love to call it the arc of justice. I mean, people hear it. I don't want to make anybody. The arc of justice means that 40 years ago, a guy is being almost beaten to death, and 40 years later, he's going to stick up for veterans in Ohio. I mean, that's just beautiful, wonderful. The people that we picked are knowledgeable, they are intelligent, they have character, and so I have to continue that process. And we'll have more announcements coming soon. I think we're moving pretty well ahead on all this. The second thing, I had a phone call again with another company today. I had a phone call with a company, I think it was yesterday. I'm constantly in touch with companies that are thinking about leaving the state, or they're not so much thinking about leaving the state. They'd like to stay, but they want to make sure that they're welcome here. So today I told one company up in up in the northeastern part of the state. I'm sorry I'm not there personally. Your board is going to meet with you tomorrow. We are totally committed to keeping you. If I have to do somersaults to come up there and prove it to you, but it just might take a long time before I can get there if I'm somersaulting on my way up, but that we want you to stay. So there's an element of that. We work with the Department of Development not to undercut them. And at the same time, I work on this Jobs Ohio, finding a director of that, and we're working the legislation on that. I mean, I'm not involved in the details on all that, but that's a focus of mine. And the other focus is the budget. So we can balance the budget and cut the taxes. And a lot of governors that I've been around here lately say, we want to balance the budget. We're not going to have a tax increase. Well, we're going to have a balanced budget. We're going to have a tax cut because we need it in Ohio, because most of the people that I work with have much lower taxes and have a much more inviting economic situation than we do. And I told the story of the governor of Tennessee. He was in a meeting where I was, and he said, we have no income tax, we don't regulate anybody very much, and we are right to work state. So why don't you all bring your jobs down to where I am? So, when you have to measure up against people, and we've got to move quickly to demonstrate business knowledge, business friendliness, and a better business. That's what I spend all my time thinking about.
How quickly do you expect the Jobs Ohio plan to be implemented? I mean, will we see a nonprofit Department of Development before the end of next year?
I don't want to give a timeline right now, do I?
Sure.
Okay. No, the answer is no. I mean, I don't want to start. Once I do that, then you hold me to it. My timeline doesn't look that long.